In ancient Persia, a young woman was chosen to be queen. She was kind, wise, and faithful, but she kept one secret. She was Jewish. A magnificent palace stood shining under the sun in the heart of Persia. On the throne sat King Xerxes, powerful and proud in his royal robes. A search began across the empire for a new queen. Among the people lived Esther, raised by her cousin Mordecai. Mordecai encouraged Esther with wisdom and care. Esther joined other young women as they entered the palace gates. Inside, attendants prepared Esther with gentle care. Her kind smile set her apart from everyone else. The king's eyes fell upon Esther for the very first time. She bowed gracefully before him, full of respect and dignity. At last, a crown was placed on Esther's head. From a distance, Mordecai watched proudly, yet protectively. Esther walked through the palace, hopeful but uncertain. She kept her Jewish identity hidden, remembering Mordecai's words. A great celebration was held in the palace for the new queen. Mordecai often sat at the palace gate, keeping watch. One day, Haman entered proudly, dressed in fine robes. All the officials bowed to Haman, but Mordecai refused. Haman's face burned with anger as Mordecai stood firm. In his chambers, Haman plotted revenge against the Jews. He convinced the king to sign a deadly decree. The king gave Haman his signet ring in agreement. Messengers rode swiftly across the empire to deliver the decree. Jewish families wept in despair as they heard the news. At the palace gate, Mordecai tore his clothes in grief. Esther's attendants brought her word of Mordecai's mourning. Esther quickly sent a message back to him. Mordecai replied with a desperate plea, "Go to the king." Esther read the words, her heart filled with fear. Alone in the palace garden, Esther wrestled with her thoughts. Mordecai reminded her, "Perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this." With courage rising, Esther answered, "If I perish, I perish." She and her attendants prayed earnestly for strength. Across the land, the Jewish people fasted and prayed together. Esther dressed in royal robes, preparing to face the king. Slowly, Esther walked toward the king's throne room. The guards looked on nervously as she entered. The king was surprised to see Esther approaching. The room grew silent. Would he accept her or not? Then the king raised his golden scepter. Esther was safe. She breathed a sigh of relief, courage filling her heart. Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet. At the first banquet, Esther served with grace but stayed silent. At the second, determination shone clearly in her eyes. She declared, "I am Jewish, and Haman seeks to destroy my people." The king's face filled with shock and anger. Haman begged for mercy, but the king ordered his punishment. Mordecai was honored with the king's robe and ring. The Jewish people rejoiced, celebrating God's deliverance. Esther stood tall in the palace, hopeful and at peace. The story of Esther reminds us that courage can rise in the most unlikely places.